let's go with Adam in Texas. Adam, you're live with Eric and V.
Hello
Adam?
there. How are y'all this evening? Or this
Doing
afternoon?
all right.
We're doing good.
Yeah, where are you at, man?
I am in North Texas, almost Oklahoma.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Nice.
I've probably driven through then. Very cool.
Well, thanks for calling in. What can we help you with today?
Yeah.
So, well, first of all, I wanted to say, Vi, I really resonated with your story I listened to recently, your conversion story. So it resonates with me a lot. Secondly, the main thing would be, I believe that the old covenant slavery system is actually better than the prison slavery system that we have today.
It sounds like you're conflating slavery with imprisonment.
Right.
Yeah. That's not a thing.
Well-
Those are different.
I don't know. I could say that modern day slavery in the U.S. is imprisonment in the U.S. is similar to slavery in a lot of ways.
Sure. I mean, I think that we need to do a better job, but it's still conflating two different things. You have
They're two entirely different structures.
Yeah, you have a human being being owned as property, and in lots of slavery systems, including the one in the United States, and in the Bible, you have people and their children being owned as property. And you also understand that these people are not being viewed as humans, right? Even in prison, yes, we'll take away some rights like the right to own a gun. But we still treat them as a human being. We want to.
I have lots of feelings about the prison system in the U.S.
I do too, but
that's getting in the way of this.
Yes, it is.
I'm going to cut to the chase with you, Adam, and say that I might agree that how they decided to use indentured servitude for other Hebrews at the time is better than some of the prison systems in the U.S. But I do not agree that what they did to outsiders is better. And that was just as condoned as indentured servitude of fellow Hebrews.
Yeah.
So that's my take on that.
Why do you say that? Why do you say
Because
that the way they would treat outsiders is worse than what we've got now?
I don't understand. Hold on. Where's this conversation going? Is this a conversation to prop up the idea that the Bible is a moral book?
Yes.
Okay, so you think the Bible is moral?
But if it's...
Yes, I'm a theist.
Those are two different things.
Yeah, we've actually specifically gone over a type of theism that we've been studying, process
theology.
Yeah.
Guys, if any of you are process theologians or interested in that,
please call.
I'm so excited to talk to you. Sorry, Adam. Adam, here's the thing. You can, even if we were to agree for the sake of the argument that what is in the Bible is better than what we have now in certain situations, why on earth would that equal that the Bible is moral? I could say that hitting someone is better than killing them, but I'm not going to condone hitting people as a good thing to do.
Yeah, I
misspoke, I guess. I'm not arguing that slavery or in the Bible makes the Bible moral. I think that the reason that it's moral is based on something more fundamental.
Okay, so why are we talking about slavery?
That's just what I wanted to call in and talk about.
Okay, well, I'm willing to grant for the sake of this conversation that certain things in the Bible are probably better than certain things that exist today. Certainly there were no atomic bombs in the Bible. It means that the Bible is in that way better because we didn't have the capacity to kill millions of people. But that to me doesn't translate to anything other than I guess there were some things that were better and some things that were worse at different time periods. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that ties into your ultimate point, which I'm assuming has to do with proving either the veracity of the Bible or God or something. So what's the end goal for you here?
Well, I'm what you call a presuppositionalist.
Oh. Well, I think you're the first precept to start with a slavery argument.
Yeah.
That's an interesting combo right there.
Cheers.
It's like
I guess there's a
half iced tea, half lemonade.
You know what? I kind of got a craving for that.
Yeah, right?
Arnold Palmer on
I got one.
the Talk Heathen show.
Yeah, we didn't want to openly endorse an alcoholic beverage, so we kind of put a little tape, which actually
Yeah.
is kind of a nice grip.
It's a good kind of nice grip. Sorry, continue.
Oh, well, yeah. So the presuppositional argument, so I'm not using this argument to show that the Bible is moral. I think it's moral just based on its own merits, like it's a self-authenticating argument. The slavery system is just a natural result of it being good.
Okay.
Wow. Okay, that's an interesting claim.
Yeah. So hold on a second. You're saying the Bible validates itself, which makes it true. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. Cool. Where's my book of Eric?
It's over there.
It's around here. Oh, here it is. My book says that it's true. It says everything written in this book is true. So does that mean that everything in my book is true?
Not necessarily. We would have to look.
But it says so.
And we would also have to agree on what's the correct result.
Well, it says 2 + 2 = 4.
That it is, and well, there's a difference between the reason that something is true and also how we know that it is true.
I agree. Okay, so if we were to evaluate my book and it says 2 + 2 = 4, and then we look at the claim that everything in this book is true, hey, we'll agree, right? Cool. Okay. Also in this book, it says that I created the universe. Would you still agree that everything in this book is true?
Well, we would examine the fruits of that. So if you created the universe, then you get to determine how it runs.
No, you don't.
We would look at
Not necessarily. I mean, so imagine an entity that simply all it can do is poof a universe into existence. That's it.
Okay.
Okay. Then no, that entity would not have control over the universe. It wouldn't have to, it wouldn't be making moral decisions. It would just poof a universe into existence. The thing is, you're carrying a lot of assumptions that are attached to your God, to the idea that a universe creating entity would need to have those, which I think is where we're going to be breaking down. There's an assessment of what those things would be that we're just not in agreement with. And I think that's where we're going to having an issue.
Okay, I guess you misunderstand me. I don't think that something that creates the universe necessarily has to have laws for it. I'm just saying that's the way that the beings that are created within that universe would know who the creator is. If that makes sense.
Well, I wrote them a book
based on his work.
It's right here. No, they got a book. It's right here.
But they don't see any. Well, in that sense, I guess it would be self-evident to them that they are made things. Ah,
so then I am God.
Also, if he says, hey, I'm going to create a thing called pizza and it is good and it will be called pizza and pizza exists, that's proof that he created the universe, right? Because they can see the fruits of his work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that one of the ways that we know that a being exists is by examining the things that it does.
So no, I actually.
Well, yes, but first we have to determine whether the being exists.
Yeah.
And then we can say, okay, what kind of being is this? And what does it do? And where does it live? And what does it eat? Right? We can do that. But first and foremost, we have to determine that the thing exists before we can study it.
Yeah. And just as an example, if we were to be talking about whether or not a lawnmower exists, yes, we can look at the mowed lawn and things like that. But if we're talking about that lawnmower, bring in the lawnmower. You need to show that it exists. Otherwise, how do I know that you weren't sitting out on your lawn with scissors? It's just, you can show that the lawnmower exists without having to turn it on.
Right. The difficulty comes when now it's the lawnmower trying to determine whether somebody made it or not.
No, in our analogy, the lawnmower is God. And what we're determining is whether or not the lawnmower exists by the fact that the grass got cut. It might be sheep.
Well, you can just go.
It might be somebody with a
direction too.
Well, yeah, it could go either direction, but this is the direction we're going. I guess my question for you, Adam, is...
Then it would be the grass.
In any other situation, do you use this kind of logic? Do you use this kind of logic to determine a thing because the thing itself said it? it's circular. And I know for a fact that you can't go through life like that, or you're going to get into some real trouble. You're open to scams and con artists and probably, basic things like math. Like all of that's going to be a problem for you if you use circular logic elsewhere. So why is it okay here?
It's because when you get to the top of the truth chain, I suppose, like why does this, because this, why is this, because this, like when you go backwards all the way up that, when you finally get to the end, it's that thing looping back on itself.
Actually, it's I don't know. You loop it back on itself when you don't have a better answer. But Descartes got it wrong. It's I don't know. That's the honest response.
Or he was also a presuppositionalist in the famous "I think, therefore I am." He assumed I think. Well, how do you know it's you that's thinking?
That is an awesome conversation for another day. But just responding here, does that help? It doesn't necessarily loop back on itself. It winds up getting to a place of I don't know, and that's good. There's a word for it, aporia.
Well, I think at least that's honest. But the person that says I don't know can't necessarily say that he knows that somebody else doesn't know.
Well, then it is important for the person who says they know to come up and show evidence for it, right? We're saying I don't know. You're the one coming to us with a claim. So we're asking for you to provide evidence, and that seems only fair.
We're not necessarily saying that we know you're wrong. We're saying we know that we're not convinced you're right.
Yeah.
Those are different things.
And it's largely important. It's incredibly important because it's why we want to have a conversation with you. We have this show so people can call in, tell us what they believe and why. And if they convince us, we'll listen. I mean, it's that simple. We're not, being stubborn about it. We just want to have good reasons for believing the things that we do.
No, and I commend you guys for that. I think a lot of Christians miss that you do need the evidence. And Jesus said that people will know that you're my disciples by your love for one another. And I think there's people that have been turned off to Christianity because Christians aren't doing a very good job doing what their book tells them to do. And then unbelievers look at them and say, look, those people don't know God. And like, yeah, right, they don't know God because they're not obeying what God told them to do.
Do you remember doing that in church?
Oh, all the time. And I would love to just take, if this were just my show and there wasn't an audience that was expecting other things, I would take that sentence and just dissect the shit out of it. Because in some areas I agree, in some areas I strongly disagree. I think that Christians are doing a very bad job if what they want to convey is love for all of humanity. But I also think that the Christians I agree with the most and surround myself with when I want to engage with Christians are those that neglect most of what the Bible says and follows their own morality and their own moral code in a way that is humanistic. So yes, and I guess for me. But this whole thing is interesting because we started off talking about slavery and we ended up way in left field. So is this where you wanted to end up? Is this the conversation you wanted to have? And did we answer your question?
Well, yeah, and I've never called in before. I think this is sort of a good get to know you call. So I sort of assumed that we were gonna go all over the place just to sort of touch on the main things that you guys like to touch on all the time, and then maybe I was thinking branch off to slavery, but I figured it was good to have a particular thing to bring up to begin the conversation.
Well, I appreciate you calling in. I enjoyed this conversation, and if you want to call back, what we generally tell people is, if you could pick one claim that is the one that clinched it for you, that's the one we want to talk about. That's the interesting stuff for us, because if we're going to talk about a claim and then end up maybe debunking it, and that's not going to change your opinion or our opinion, then why are we having the conversation? So definitely call in again, but come with something that's really meaty, that's really juicy, that really, gets you excited, because that's something I'd be interested to talk about.
One other thing I'd be really excited to talk about.
I think next time I'll call in, I'll share my testimony if that would be okay.
Well, I think I would go back and watch earlier episodes where we talk about testimony beforehand. That way you can see kind of how we address that. What I'm really interested in, and we don't have to talk about this today, is how you get out of the no true Scotsman fallacy. There are plenty of Christians who call themselves Christians who do not advocate for love that way, or they think that the love that they need to show is tough love. And I would not say that they're not true Christians. They're just different.
Well, I actually appreciated that Adam didn't say they weren't Christians, just that they weren't doing a good job, which is important. You have to be able to hold your side accountable, right? There are plenty of atheists who do awful stuff, and we need to hold them accountable as fellow atheists, not say, oh, well, they're not even part of the group, so they're not my problem.
Well, but the thing is I'm sure there are Christians who would say, no, we are doing a good job. They're not, there's not an agreement.
That is the question. Yeah, exactly.
There's not an agreement on that.
How do you determine what a good Christian is? Because the people who are not doing Christianity the way you would do it still think they're doing it correctly. So then that becomes the conversation, which would be interesting. So yeah, call back and we'll have another conversation.
I appreciate shows like this where you can talk about things like this at length, because this isn't a time, I mean, these types of conversations are unfortunately not encouraged on Sunday morning.
Agreed. That's the point. That's what we want. We're glad that you found the show, and we look forward to you calling in again.
Absolutely. Thanks, Adam.
Take care.
Thank you very much.